Okay, so I just finished watching Married at First Sight. I have a ton of notes and a ton of thoughts, but we're not going to get to that right now. I want to get to a little bit of The Last Maverick. So, I know you've all been sitting on the edge of your seats. Are you ready? Of course you are. So, let's go to page 96. And we're starting at the bottom of the page. But still, Josh was kind of jumpy about men, and for good reason. He didn't need his mother freaking her out with too many personal questions and a boatload of assumptions about what was really going on between the two of them. Page 97. He headed over there to rescue her. His mother saw him coming. She gave him a big, wide smile. Josh turned to meet his eyes, and he breathed a sigh of relief to see that she looked completely at ease. Maybe Ma was minding her own business after all. But then he got close enough for her to speak to him. "Jason," his mother said, suddenly looking way too innocently, "Ethan really needs to talk to you. He's been looking all over for you." "He found me." Jace tried not to scowl. "We had a nice, long talk. I think I cleared up a few misconceptions for him." "Oh?" Claudia gave him the arched eyebrow. "What misconceptions do you mean?" "Long story, Ma, but the upshot is Ethan understands now that I'm not going to stay in Midland, and I'm going to work at TOI, and I'm not going to work at TOI anymore. Not in Texas, and not here in Montana." His mother shot Josh a nervous glance. "Jason, really, this is neither the time nor the place to go into all that." Page 98. Oh, right. Now things were going the way that she planned, and suddenly it was better if they didn't talk about that now. Way to go, Ma. And he had to give Josh credit. Simply sat there looking gorgeous and completely unconcerned about whatever antagonistic undercurrents might be churning between him and the woman who'd given him life. He said cheerfully, "Just cluing you in, Ma." And then he bent and kissed her still smooth cheek. She grabbed his arm and held him close enough that he could smell the light perfume she always wore. Softly she told him, "I love you very much. You know that." "I know, and I love you too, Ma." He rose to his height again and spoke to Josh. "Hungry? The food's on." He held out his hand. She took it and rose to stand beside him, and he felt like $1,000,000 suddenly, just holding her slim, smooth fingers in his. "Great getting a chance to visit with you, Claudia," she said. His mother was all smiles. "I'm so glad we were able to talk a little, and don't forget, we would love to have you ride up Thunder Mountain with us tomorrow. The picnic will be such fun, and the views from the top are near the tree line are stunning." "Thank you for inviting me," Josh said, "but didn't you mention that you're riding horses up there?" "Yes, we are. It's a beautiful ride." "I've never ridden a horse in my life." "First time for everything," Ma said brightly, "and there are always calm, even-tempered horses available from the resort stables. Mounts they keep especially for beginners. I'll talk it over with Jace." "Wonderful," his mother beamed. He asked, "You coming to eat, Ma?" "I think I'll find Pete first." "Well, all right then." He guided Josh ahead of him, and she led the way toward the kitchen. After a few steps he caught up with her and spoke so low that she could hear. "So you're moving to Midland?" She laughed, a soft, enticing sound. It was suggested. They entered the dining room. He pulled her over to a quiet corner where they could be talking or two undisturbed. What else was suggested? "Your mother said she thinks I'm lovely," her word, "and she's so glad that you and I met, and she really has a wonderful feeling about me." That's 97, 98, 99, 100. "Well, 3 things Ma and I can agree on at least. Hey, at least your mom knows she's meddling. Don't be too sure about that, but I am sure she wants you back in Texas. But she knows she's out of line to keep after you. She gets that you're all grown up and that it's your life." "She said all that?" "Well, not exactly, but I can see it in her eyes." Why am I not reassured? You should be. You should take my word for it. Backing Claudia off is going to be a piece of cake, unlike someone else's mother I could mention. Jace wasn't so sure. "Ma filled Ethan's ear with a whole bunch of complete crap about me. He decided he had to come up to my rescue with a domineering attitude and some, quote, tough love, end quote." "Yikes. Just now, you mean?" He nodded, admiring the pretty arch of her eyebrow, the juicy curve of her mouth. She really was easy on the eyes. He'd never been a best friend He never had a best friend so good to look at, but then all his other friends were male, and looking at them didn't do a thing for him. She said, I hope it all worked out. Oh, it did. I only wanted to punch his lights out. The brown eyes widened. But you kept your cool? Yes, I did, surprisingly enough. Ethan and I are on the same page now, and I have to agree that Ethan on me, sicking Ethan on me was probably Ma's main move. That didn't work, so she'll be out of our ways to get me to come to my senses and get back into life, as I've always lived it. But don't kid yourself. She's not finished working on you. Josh tugged her collar of his shirt. He leaned down even closer. Her warm, sweet breath teased his ear as she whispered, if she only knew the truth about me, she might actually believe that we were just friends. He whispered back, are you saying you're planning on telling her the truth? She held his gaze. Are you? I have told the truth, that you and I are just friends. It is my fault that no one will believe me. Guess not. I'm glad you see it that way. Leaning close to her, breathing in that tempting scent of her perfume, could be so easily to wish 100 or 101, 102. For more than friendship. As for your truth, well, it's not mine to tell. She smiled up at him, then causing his heart to beat harder and faster in his chest. I appreciate that, Jess, but I don't want to go into it with everyone. It's just too embarrassing. That's okay with me. I won't say a word. Thanks. Now those big brown eyes looked at him trustingly. He felt minimally guilty about that. After all, he did find her way hot. And if she had happened to decide she wanted some benefits in this temporary friendship after all, well, every moment he was with her, it got harder to remember why a few benefits wouldn't be a crackerjack idea. For some weird reason, I don't have any trouble telling you all my secrets, even the shameful ones. Her cheeks flushed pink, and she lowered her gaze so she was looking at the second button on his shirt. He couldn't resist using a fingertip to tip her chin back up. He stared at her mouth. How could he help it? She had the softest, widest mouth he ever seen. He wanted to kiss her a lot, but he wouldn't. He said, there's nothing shameful in wanting your dream so much that you're willing to compromise to get it. That depends on the compromise. Even letting myself imagine I might get back with Kenny after he betrayed me with my own cousin. That's just shameful. Listen to me, Josh. I want you to stop beating yourself up about that. It's only, he put a finger against those soft lips of her. Take it from your new best friend. It's over with the cheater. You didn't go back to him, and that's what matters. From the corner of his eye, he saw everyone filing past and moving towards the kitchen. His brother Corey and his wife Erin glanced their way, and Erin whispered to Corey. He could just guess what she was saying, something about how Jace had found that special someone. Which was great. It fit into his plan just fine. He and Josh would have a good time together, enjoying each other's company, taking each day as it came, and his family would leave them alone to pursue what they all hoped would be the beginning of a meaningful relationship. A relationship that would help him get over Tricia, whom they were all so damn certain had broke his heart. 102, 103, 104. Everyone's heading for the kitchen, Josh whispered. Shouldn't we join them? He draped an arm around her slim shoulder. Let's go. I'm going to skip a hunk of book here, so this is going to make you want to pick this book up and read it. Small paragraph, 129. She was starting to see that she really would be okay in the long run. Funny how a near-death experience can snap the world into sharper focus. She was young and smart, and the computer's acting up. There we go. She was young and smart and strong, and she had enough money in her bank account to get by until she found another job. And hey, after knowing Jay, she had to admit that there had still been a few good men left in the world. Not every guy was a cheating jerk. That was page 129. Moving forward, 148. Okay. Josh was moving a little stiffly when he picked her up at 9, but she said she was fine. She laughed. Hey, you should have seen me when I first got up. It wasn't pretty, but I'm feeling better now, and I've been moving around. And it didn't seem that her stiffness faded as the day went by. After breakfast at Lizzie's Bakery, they walked over to the Historical Society Museum on Pine Street. Aunt Melba was there, behind the little desk in the small lobby of the area of the old building. So lovely to see you two young, smiling faces, she said. Page 149. She charged them $3 each and then gave them a guided tour. Okay, again, a big section of the book missed to make you want to read it. Okay. 187 to 188. You weren't popular in high school? He shook his head. I don't believe it. I was shy. No way. Oh, yeah, and lonely. I told you that the first night I met you, he answered tenderly. That's right, I remember. I never felt like I fit in, you know. I was always something of a misfit, I guess you could say. And just look at you now. She rested her head on his warm, strong chest where she could hear the steady beating of the generous heart. You always make me feel so good about myself, like I could do anything I always wanted to. Because you could. His lips brushed her hair. Her eyelids felt heavy. She just let them droop shut, just for a minute or two. Their chemistry is just so wonderful. Okay, we're moving on. I'm trying to find a stopping point already. Can you imagine that? We're going to stop at page 200 tonight. Even though the computer's acting up, hopefully it'll get over it soon. But anyway, page 194. Now Jace's mom hesitated. Who could blame her? I honestly didn't mean to butt in. Jace muttered something under his breath. His mother glared at him. Well, Jason, I had no idea that you would be here. She aimed her chin high and announced, not that there's anything wrong with you being here. You young people have your own ways of doing things. I understand that. Okay, come on, stop acting up, computer. We'll give it a couple minutes, and if it doesn't come back, we'll have to stop and try again. I don't know what's wrong with this camera. I apologize, y'all. Okay, we'll finish. There we go. I understand that. I grew up in the 70s. I'm not a complete fuddy-duddy, you know. Jace stepped inside. It's all right, Ma, he said resignedly. Come on in, looking very uncomfortable. Claudia stepped forward. He asked, want some coffee? Oh, no, I won't stay. I have to meet Pete at the grub steak in about 10 minutes. Pasting on another smile, she walked past her son and came straight for Josh. Jocelyn, I only wanted to say again that we would love to see you in Midland any time you care to visit. I have so enjoyed getting to know you, and I'm hoping that even though you're going back to Sacramento, you won't be a stranger. You'll return to see us again, and maybe you and Jason. By then that fake smile had faded once more. Claudia's voice trailed off. She blinked. Oh, my goodness. And she stretched out a hesitant hand to lightly brush the frothy skirt of the wedding dress Josh had still draped over her shoulder. Jace, clearly bewildered at the whole situation, lingered in the arch of the foyer. Josh's frantic gaze skipped from him back to his mother. Claudia's face was transfixed. Is that? Tears filled her eyes. Oh, I knew it. She let out a glad cry, and then she was reaching out, grabbing Josh in the Cinderella wedding gown and the endless yards of the veil and into a hug. Oh, Jocelyn, Claudia whispered tearfully, her face buried in the dress. I'm so happy. You two are so right for each other. Josh made a sputtering sound. Well, and then Claudia was drawing back somehow, managing to find a clasp Josh by the shoulders. 194, 195, 196. Even with the dress and the veil in her way, Josh blinked and met the older woman's eyes, which were diamond bright with happy tears. It's a beautiful gown, said Claudia fervently. Stunning, and I don't really believe in that old superstition that it's bad luck for the groom to see the dress ahead of time. Whatever works is what I always say, and the two of you work well together, perfectly. I'm thrilled that you two have realized so quickly how right you are for each other. Jason has been looking for you, Jocelyn. You realize that, don't you? He's been looking for you this whole time, much too long now. I think he was giving up hope, if you want to know the sad truth, but now here you are, together in love, ready to marry and get on with your lives. What could she say? How to even begin? No, see this dress? I was going to wear that and marry this other guy. As a matter of fact, I've been here on my honeymoon, my unhoneymoon. Maybe you noticed I'm in the honeymoon suite? Thanks, Ma, Jace said out of nowhere. He sounded sincere. Josh sent him another wild glance. He met her eyes, held them, and then he smiled. The bewildered look was gone. Now he was totally confident, utterly sure. We're pretty excited, too. We are? This wasn't actually happening. Not really. It wasn't real. Actually, she was still fast and asleep in a bed in the other room. It was a dream. Yes, it had to be. She wanted to pinch herself, but the dress and the veil and Claudia were all in the way. Claudia hauled her close and hugged her again. Have a safe flight to Sacramento and hurry back. You must come to Midland soon. I can't wait to show you around. We're not living in Midland, Ma, Jace said firmly. We aren't? Josh blinked 3 times in a rapid succession. He added, and I'm out of the oil business for good. Claudia let Josh go and turned to her son. We'll talk about that. No, we won't. There's nothing to talk about. I'm looking into another line of work, and we're staying here in Thunder Canyon. Claudia sighed. Oh, Jason. Be happy for us, Ma. He went to his mother and grabbed her for a hug. Sorry. Claudia went out with another cry and hugged him back. Well, all right, she said in a tear-clogged voice. All right, if that's what you really want. 196, 197, 198. It is. He gave Josh another steady, determined look over his mother's shoulder. Josh gaped back at him and didn't say a word. Why speak? None of this was real anyway. Then I'm happy for you, Claudia cried. I am so very, very happy. Thanks, Ma. He stepped back, releasing her, still reasonably certain she slipped into a dream world. Josh stayed firmly rooted and draped her in the place and draped her in her wedding finery and went on gapping at the pair of them. Claudia pulled a tissue from her pocket and dabbed at her eyes. Oh, I'm just so pleased, so pleased. I can't wait to tell Pete. With a delicate little sniffle, she asked Josh, the wedding will be in Sacramento then? We're still in the planning stages, Jace answered for her. Claudia waved the tissue. Of course you are. She laughed a teary, soggy, happy sound. And look at me, butting in like this. I can see that you two were trying to enjoy your breakfast. Well, yeah, we were, Jace confessed. She stepped close to him again and lifted on tiptoe to kiss his beard-shadowed cheek. Not beer, like you drink, but beard on his face. There we go. I'll leave you two alone then. Thanks, Ma. She grabbed his hands. Just be happy. That's all I want for you. All I've ever wanted for each of my children. We will, he answered solemnly. I promise. That's the spirit. She gave his hands a final squeeze and released them, and then she aimed a Johnny wave over at Josh. See you very soon, dear. She was beaming. Ahem. Yeah. Bye. Still beaming, Claudia headed for the door. Jace was right behind her. Josh remained where she was, buried in the wedding finery, wondering if she was going to wake up soon. But then she heard the door click shut and the privacy chain sliding into place. Jace returned and stood in the arch of the foyer again. Don't say a word. She didn't, but she couldn't. She did manage a wild, confused, sputtering sound. He put a hand up. I swear to you, Josh, I have a plan. I think it's a good one. Let me explain. 198, 199, and here comes 200. She found her voice demanded, still not believing that this could be happening. A plan? You have a plan. Don't look at me like that. Please, give me a chance. Hear me out. About then, she realized she wasn't going to be waking up. It wasn't a dream. Jace had told his mother that they were getting married and moving to Thunder Canyon. And Josh had just stood up there and let it all happen. Well, hopefully this computer doesn't act up tomorrow night and we can finish up this book. But I'm hoping to get to you also to give you an update on the house. But next, I'm going to try and do a little bit of the magazine, if not all of the magazine tonight. So don't go anywhere.